Hello and welcome to Virtuosity's Fireside Chats. I'm Corey, co-founder of Virtuosity, and I'm here with our other co-founder, Mary Crossan. Today we're going to be talking about paradigm shifts, in particular 3, and how we've embedded them into Virtuosity. So let's just begin with talking about why do we need these paradigm shifts?
Well, I think it's more that we discovered that what we were talking about wasn't some kind of incremental way of moving forward, that we actually wanted to think about the way of elevating character alongside competence was indeed a paradigm shift. So the first one, Corey, that we began to notice is that there was this sense it had been a blind spot for organizations, and people keep asking us, it's a bit of an aha moment, like, how did we not know about this? And I've used this idea of the aerodynamics of leadership back in the day when we were learning how to fly, and we were essentially replicating birds and flapping our wings, right, to try to figure out how we would actually fly. And it was until we really understood aerodynamics that flight took place. And when we think today about what leadership is about, I would say we've been relying on a lot of tools that are a little bit like flapping the wings, and that if we now understand character like the aerodynamics of leadership, something that we didn't see, but there's a lot of science and engineering about, and to take that metaphor a little further, maybe we can now take flight in our leadership, actually doing what we'd hoped that our leadership would allow us to do.
I love that. So what is paradigm shift number 2?
Well, on that one, it is the shift as we look at on character as being more than ethics. Because we saw in the early days, people would begin to say, well, I'm going to operate with one hand behind my back if I'm operating with character. And yet character is about well-being and sustained excellence. If anything, you're operating with one hand behind your back if you don't have strength of character. So the shift that we're making on that paradigm side is beginning to say, yes, it will deal with ethics and understanding how you can make ethical decisions, but this is about decisions more broadly. And it's about well-being, it's about that sustained excellence. Part of that shift is also, well, it's all subjective. Well, no, it isn't. We have a way of understanding what character is. It's objective, and then the great part is that we can develop it. I think it would be a really tough position to be in if it were treated like personality in some semi-stable state where you're extrovert or an introvert, and it's just, figure out who you are and how you're going to deal with that. Whereas with character, you can look at it just like the muscles of the body and say, hey, I'm going to develop these dimensions of character.
And I think this paradigm shift has been quite big in the world where we work with sports, because typically we have thought about character as doing the right thing, which it is about, but it is about a lot more than that. It does help with performance and well-being, and when we see the sports teams that we work with start to get this, they do immediately get that it is about elevating their performance and their well-being, not just about doing the right thing. So it's been really powerful. Third paradigm shift, tell us about that.
I think this may be one of the more challenging ones. I think we all think our character is good enough. We see ourselves as being good people, very true. I think we're just underestimating the strength of character required to operate in the world that we live in. And sometimes I use the imagery of, we have enough character to walk on the beach in our, on our vacation, where we're not very stressed about it, but that the world we live in is so turbulent. It's more like some parasailing and doing some high wind challenges on the ocean where we have to deal with turbulence. I think the way that we begin to see that is that very few of us can look at our own lives and say, what's the level of stress, anxiety, challenge that we face? What are the issues and challenges to our well-being? I don't think many of us look to that some of that could be rooted in our character, and that we could strengthen some of those muscles of character to help us and equip us to deal with the challenge of the world that we live in.
So that's our 3 paradigm shifts. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with before we close out?
I think the piece that I want to maybe reinforce in this is that while there's a lot that we've just talked about at the individual level and the development of character, is that as individuals start to engage in the development of character, we begin to understand why the systems that we operate in, whether they're organizations or societal or the context that we're in, are ones that really can challenge a lot of our character. In part, we can start to shift some of those systems, but on the other hand, we are also developing the character to be able to operate in those systems while we work on the systems. I think these are the places where we see dealing with systemic discrimination and challenges around how marginalized individuals have operated. We do need to develop the strength of character to be able to navigate those worlds, but we also need that very strength of character to start to affect those big systems that have really undermined many individuals.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks so much for sharing all of that. And I hope that that does give you some food for thought. And we encourage you to think about how you could look for those paradigm shifts and opportunities to start shifting what we've just shared today. So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to sharing more in the future. Bye for now.